In the summer of 1990, they were on an evening tour out where the Golden Gate Park meets the sea when Esmeralda felt a punch in the stomach. She tried to pinch it, then stalled for time by impressing the heel of her palm against her belly and chewing a fistful of herbal anti-nausea pills from her wool bag. But all the tea in China couldn't hold back a gastrointestinal surge of this magnitude for long. I should clarify that Esmeralda is really fat. Okay, so there's a metaphor in there. Jasper, I need to use the facilities. Tell your mom to pull over. But it's not bedtime yet. What's going on? Look, I don't have the details, but unless you want to mess in the car, we better find a bathroom pronto. Jasper notified his mother with a series of piercing screeches, and inside of 30 seconds, they were stopped at a gas station. With both hands, he spotted Esmeralda as she pushed out of the minivan and wobbled across the parking lot, spitting gooey strings like an angry third base coach. As soon as she was installed in a semi-stable position leaning against a braced stucco wall, Jasper ran down to the snack shop, bought a bag of sunflower seeds, and hopped back with the scuffed silver hubcap chained to a key. Esmeralda grabbed the snack, pried open the lavatory door, and speed-waddled to the commode, where she hiked up her muumuu, slid onto the seat, and relaxed her sphincter in a single, surprisingly limber motion. To her dismay, her innards offered no immediate relief, but on the plus side, she observed that the restroom had been recently cleaned and was handicapped accessible, such that the toilet was reinforced, there were grab bars for gripping and stabilizing, and on the whole, Esmeralda couldn't have been more comfortable, except perhaps with a recent feature film. Or several. The wait turned out to be 6 hours long, a bathroom visit of historic proportions, marking a momentous shift in Esmeralda's personal geopolitics. "Everything okay? Need some water?" Jasper asked through the door after the first hour had passed. "Of course not, Jasper. There's water in here." "How about some supper? I have some coupons for the deli across the street." A pastrami sandwich was tempting, Esmeralda had to admit, and would keep up her strength better than a measly bag of sunflower seeds. She was on the verge of authorizing the purchase when a steel-toed boot-kicking competition broke out in her breadbasket, and she realized the addition of processed meats was sure to end in digestive pandemonium. "Thanks, buckaroo," she sighed, "but I'd better get back to concentrating." She made progress with ensuing sets of abdominal squeezing, splashes, periods of moderate gushing, but the obstruction's bulk remained lodged in her midsection. Bolts of pain seared the rolling hills of her gut and trembled between her legs, shooting in white streaks from her statuesque brow to the lonely corners of her rarely seen feet. It got worse as the hours rolled by, splitting her insides from an unusual epicenter for a bowel movement, not the intestines or the anus, or even the gut, but somewhere more front and center, recognizable but noticeably different, like a lavatory in a foreign country. It dawned on Esmeralda that maybe whatever it was wasn't coming out of the traditional number 2 hole, but for whatever reasons, due to a plumbing mix-up or some very garbled directions, out of number 1. She remembered reading an article that described kidney stones as having similar symptoms. It was reaching into her wool bag to search for the clipping when an incredible spike broke through her eyelids, and she knew it was far too late for a shred of newsprint to do any good. This was it. It was happening. Landmines and firebombs, rips and tears, six-legged kicks, teeth-piercing lips, self-imposed scratches and backhanded wall slaps, flagellation and mutilation, hand-to-hand field combat, daggers gouging out gallbladders. Remotely, she felt barbed motion, inertia carpet-bombed and shattered. Fire streaked from her birth canal to her decomposing hair bum. Her groans rang at such volume that even Jasper's mother heard it over her gospel tunes in the van. As the hullaboo grew louder and louder, the gas station attendant realized this was no ordinary 6-hour excretion and called the police. "What's going on? Ezzy?" Jasper's voice was so kooky when he screamed, akin to that of a female dwarf, and Esmeralda almost found a way to laugh despite the earthquake in her loins. "Open this door or I'll bust it down." It was silly to hear him say that, and not just because of his voice. Even if Esmeralda hadn't been experiencing the most belly-busting pain of her life, hauling her big butt over to let him in was a physical impossibility after hours of exertion. But his energy was infectious, his resolve admirable, his conviction inspiring, if mildly frightening. As she listened to his puny shoulders thump feebly against the door, Esmeralda was moved to action. She forced her dipping muscles inward, compressed her stomach, strained her hidden abs, and bobbed up and down in the toilet to loosen things up. Jasper heard her travails and took on a fresh determination as ramming just as the police arrived with weapons drawn and ordered him to freeze. His assault on the bathroom not only constituted the destruction of private property, but also was a textbook sign of an abusive relationship with a hysterical woman inside. Seconds later, the gas station attendant dredged up the backup restroom key from under a pile of invoices and yelled over for everybody to cool down. He'd let him in when the mother of all hollows rang out from inside like agony incarnate, a dead dog on a doorstep. Jasper skidded to a stop and examined the door, assessing its breadth, its material construction, its hinges, possible weak spots. Another second talked by and his head was down. He was charging. Wild man frenzy starring his eyes, snot foaming in his nostrils, legs churning, smoke, glottal Hungarian consonants pouring from his throat, inducing the cops to panic and open fire. With a stiff crunch, the restroom door gave way and Jasper barreled inside, falling at a fortunate angle that eluded the 2 bullets slicing after him, and landing on the floor to get his first look of his daughter's head, peeking out from between Esmeralda's legs, slick with blood and wailing like a walloped cat.